another episode of the So-Called Oreos podcast, the podcast where we discuss all the awkwardness, hardship, and hilarity that comes along with society labeling you white on the inside and black on the outside, also known as an Oreo. I'm one of your hosts, Amari Pollard, here with...
Yes, we'll get this right one day.
One day.
Janae Price.
And Rachel Fowler.
Yes. So a lot has been going on within the past couple weeks. How is everyone doing?
You know, just living our lives.
Hanging in there.
Yeah. We were actually, like, before we did the intro and everything, we were having a conversation about just how we feel right now. And I think, you know, given everything in the world, it's hard to be like, I'm loving the world and life. Mm-hmm. So I'm just kind of like happy to be talking to you ladies. Mm-hmm. I'm all right.
I feel
that.
We'll
talk about it more in this episode and do future episodes on it. But yeah, you know, I feel like each week is just going to be like, we're making the best of it, you know? Oh man, my phone says poor connection. Sorry guys, I hope it doesn't sound bad. If it does, just let me know.
You sound fine.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We just want to highlight, guys, obviously we're all virtual because of COVID-19. Also, we would have been virtual because we live in different places. But we just want to make sure you know that in case, like Kia said, anything sounds different, since we're calling through Skype. So we apologize in advance if things start to ever sound a little off. But again, we're doing what we can, working with what we got.
Yeah, and we're talking about getting mics too, so hopefully that helps with everything. As you were saying that, my dog started scratching my carpet, and I'm just like, why do you have to do that now?
Yeah.
Like a child, man.
That was like when I did the episode with my sister. Her dog just decided to start barking and then wanted to be in my lap and whimper, and I was like, this ain't gonna work, Bailey. This ain't gonna work.
I know, I'm just like, I feel like he's my baby because he like won't stay like away from me, which is cute. But then like this week he like threw up on my carpet at like 3 a.m. and I'm just like, I guess this is what it's like to be a mom.
That's like that viral clip of that anchor who is like recording in his basement, obviously because of COVID. And like the cameraman was outside of his window, just like zoomed in on him. And then his golden retriever like goes up to the window to look. And this guy's talking about the weather. And then you see like a dog like... And then they got the dog away. The dog started hopping on the anchor as he was talking. Then the dog went back to the cameraman. It was like the entire broadcast was just the dog being adorable and needy.
Yes. That's cute. Perfectly describes how a dog is throughout their life. Adorable and needy.
See, yeah, seriously.
I don't think I'm a dog person. Like, I like other people's dogs, but I think I want a cat.
I want a dog that acts like a cat, you know, that can like take care of itself and will come to you at certain points, but like knows when to come and not.
Yeah.
But
and I think I want a cat that acts like a dog. A cat that's like more and friendly and like wants to hang out with you more than the average cat, but at the same time is, hey, I'm over you. I'm done. Like, I'm going to take a nap. So, you know.
Bye.
So, yeah.
I feel it. Okay, so to get into this episode, we're going to start off with Kia. Kia, this week in Black History, what's up?
Yes, guys, this week in Black History, I'm going to be discussing the Tulsa Race Riot of 1921, which actually happened May 31st to June 1st, 1921. So during the Tulsa Race Massacre, also known as the Tulsa Race Riot, which occurred over 18 hours on May 31st to June 1st, 1921, a white mob attacked residents, homes, and businesses in the predominantly Black Greenwood neighborhood neighborhood of Tulsa, Oklahoma. The event remains one of the worst incidents of racial violence in the U.S. history and one of the least known. News reports were largely squelched despite the fact that hundreds of people were killed and thousands left homeless. So obviously that relates to what's happening now. And I just thought that was so ironic that today's May 30th. The race riot happened May 31st. How many years? That's 100 years, guys. 1921. It's 2020. That's literally
Look at
100.
progress.
Look at the progress.
Right.
And I just want to bring that up because it's like, I didn't really know much about that. They didn't teach that in our school. And it's like, we only hear about Black people being violent, Black people looting, Black people doing this. It's like, white people attacked us. They've attacked us for literally hundreds of years. They've looted this country. They stole this country. This country was started on violence, and I don't think it's fair to keep asking the press to do something when the oppressors have been doing stuff since the start of this country. So next time people are talking about, oh, I don't understand why people are looting, I don't think that's the right answer. What's the right answer? What is the right answer? Give me one right answer. Because if y'all kneel for the flag, now we're terrorists. Now we hate the country. Now we hate veterans for some reason. Like, so I need people to, like, you know, go on Google, type in some race riots, and you will find that white people actually have been looting this country since the beginning of time. And it's not fair. I just don't think it's fair to constantly ask the press to keep being, like, the peaceful ones. Like, if someone kills your entire family, how are you expected to just, like, sit back and, like, relax? Like, I think it's human nature to want to, like, retaliate, and I don't think it's fair to, like, ask people to be peaceful when we've done that for so many years and it's not getting anywhere. And people want to say that the riots don't get us anywhere. They do. They actually get media attention. They actually get officials to do stuff just like they did in Freddie Gray, just like the 1992 riots in LA. So people who want to say, oh, it doesn't do anything, it actually does. And it sucks that we have to come to that, but that's actually what gets, like, government officials, because you don't want your cities to burn down, and it shouldn't even take that. What you should do is just make sure these cops aren't killing people, and then we wouldn't have to riot. So there's a solution to every problem. So just don't come at Black people and, like, ask them to keep being the ones to, like, make peace, because it's just not going to happen anymore.
Yeah.
Right. Especially when the justice system has failed us numerous times.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, we just can't sit back anymore and take all of this.
Right. And also, like, let's not forget all the dumb shit white people have caused violence over, like losing football games and baseball games. They've burnt their cities for losing games. We're burning down buildings and stuff, which can be rebuilt, because we're tired of being oppressed for the, how many, 400 plus years?
It's like that Target can be rebuilt. That man's life isn't going to come back.
Right.
Yeah.
Take several seats, peeps. Take several seats.
And I'm seeing a lot of reports of actually white officers going undercover and causing civil unrest.
Mm-hmm.
Those are a lot of the reports that I'm seeing. And in the media, people of color are still the ones being focused on as being violent.
Oh, also, let's talk about the Stonewall riots. How that led to marriage equality. So again, with the whole, like, riots don't do anything, they do, and it's not just Black people. It's actually every other, like, movement too. So
yeah, and I'm not advocating for violence. I'm advocating for justice and action. And at this point, people are angry. People are upset. And honestly, old-timey arguments that, Black people need to be peaceful because white people already think of us as being violent and angry and over-emotional. White people who think that are going to continue to think that whether you sit peacefully or whether you riot.
Mm-hmm.
Point blank, period.
Point blank, period. And also, why are we always forced to suppress our feelings? Humans have a range of emotions. So tired of suppressing my anger because I don't want to be the angry Black woman. So tired of trying to up my gentle appeal because I want people not to be threatened by me. No. Like, let us have a range of human emotions and actually be humans. You don't, and the problem is, like Janae had said earlier before we started recording, is that you don't like it when we protest peacefully. You don't like it when we go out in the streets and make noise and do all this stuff, because at the root of it, the problem is you just don't like us. So you're not it doesn't matter what we do. It doesn't matter.
We could literally be sitting in the park and y'all would hate us still, just like that Karen did in Central Park. Like, y'all gonna hate us anyway. It don't matter. And I don't care what you think about me. I care what God thinks about me, and that's about it.
Yeah, and this has happened time and time and time again, and this is why this is an issue. Police brutality is an issue because it is unarmed Black people going about their day-to-day business. And whether they cashed a check that bounced, whether they stole a Lucy from a store one time, or whether, I don't know, they were just going for a damn jog. That does not mean that it's okay for them to be brutally assaulted and murdered.
You have mass
anything.
You have mass murderers who are still alive in jail, who were fed before they were taken into custody.
Mm-hmm. And sure was. Went to a Black church and shot up all those people.
Shot up a whole bunch of people. Okay.
We already have a lot that we're going through, like, with this virus, and now we have to go through this. Like, we do not. When are we going to get a break? When are we going to get a break?
Yeah.
When is all this going to be resolved?
And then it's like, if we want to even talk about the pandemic, it's like, if you want to look at the facts, like, Black people are the majority of the frontline workers. Black people are the majority of people in the essential workers that y'all are paying $8 an hour still, but refuse to pay them more. Black people are the ones dying at alarming rates. Why can't y'all just leave us alone, to be honest? Like, it's like bad enough. Like, we are literally fighting the virus for you.
For
you. Look at the stats, bro. Look at the stats. And also China, I just want to bring this up real quick because this is really getting on my nerves. China, y'all, that virus started in China. We all know that. Y'all have the nerve to be racist to Africans in China, talking about they brought the second wave. If you don't get the fuck out of here, like, I'm so sick of that. Like, y'all will find any way to be racist. Anyway, and Black people have defended, like, every other minority for years and years, and y'all have the nerve to really, like, if y'all see, like, the videos on Twitter about, like, how they treat Africans in China right now, like, they're just moving, they're not even letting them in shopping centers, they're making only Africans get tested, they're evicting people out who are African, and it's just like, y'all have, like, African people make up, 1% of the Chinese population, and y'all really gonna blame the entire virus.
And it's just terrible because it's like these things that happen give white people more power and gratification. Even when the shoe was on the other foot in this country, when people were discriminating against Chinese people, saying that they brought the virus to this country and beating up Chinese people in retirement homes. Like, why are we treating each other like this? Why? All of our blood is the same color. It's all red.
Yeah, man, I don't know. I just, hopefully things get better. Like, it is a crappy time right now, and I hope, like, all this dies down a little, like, at least give us a little bit of break. But it does need to be addressed, and people need to really think about how they can make a difference and, like, how, what they're doing to contribute to white supremacy too. Because staying silent, it ain't flying. It's not flying.
If you are a white person listening to this, if you're a white person who has seen these issues on social media, now is not the time to just sit back and just mindlessly scroll. I'm not necessarily saying that taking action on social media, is what you should be doing, but figure out how you can donate, or at the very least, think about your own feelings toward groups of color. And maybe now is a really good time for you to sit back and think about how you were raised and how you can help the future generation by speaking up against these issues. And like I said, maybe that's not on social media, but maybe that's correcting your uncle when he says something racist at dinner.
That's not actually a joke.
Exactly. Maybe that's telling your father to not have a Confederate flag in the house.
Facts.
I think it's important for non-people of color, and you know what? Even people of color, because people of color can be the nastiest to each other. So I think now is a time for us to be better human beings and stand up for each other.
Andy's like, I feel like this is like bringing out the worst in like Black celebrities, like Wiz Khalifa and that other guy who said Rosa Parks should
sit your ass down. Sit your ass down.
Rosa Parks should have
took a taxi cab and go call a Lyft and go somewhere far away.
Oh my God! Who would
I was rooting for you. We were all rooting for you.
Bro, I thought that was a joke till I saw the video. I was like, yo, give him a history lesson, bro.
And then there was
a history lesson.
There was that other black celeb. He was in Dope.
That's Tony Moore.
That's him.
Yeah, that's him. Okay. He was talking about how, black people need to do better and think twice before you're in these when you're in these situations, and he knows how to conduct himself in front of police and all this other crap. It's just
I hope you don't come in trouble with them police thing. They don't care about
even black people who do know how to conduct themselves from police officers. That's not going to keep you safe at all. Because at the end of the day, these officers are afraid of us when they have the weapons, they have the guns, they have the mason, the baton, and the handcuffs. So you saying that I know how to conduct myself near police officers, but then what happened to the black people who were unarmed and who had their hands up and they still got shot? So that line that doesn't work.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of particularly when it pertains to black people in situations like these, we try to differentiate ourselves as if if I was in this situation, I'd do this. And that's why X, Y, and Z wouldn't happen. As we have seen, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're Caribbean black. It doesn't matter if you're African black. It doesn't matter if you're celebrity black. All they see is black. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think people need to understand at the root of it.
Y'all can't be like, oh, we're not African American. Like, no, they don't care.
Stop trying to separate yourself.
Yeah, they do not care. They don't care. It doesn't care.
And that separation is why we don't have collective power.
Speak on it now. Amari's turn.
This is not even what I... Oh, guys, I'm in my feelings so much. So for Black professionals we love this week, I'm dedicating it to all the protesters out there, because that's some professional shit. Yeah. You're dedicated to the movement, to the craft. You're willing to put not only your life, but your body on the line. And I think people need to understand that there's a difference. You have your life and your body, and you're putting both on the line. And I just want to say thank you. There are no protests happening where I am right now, but I am figuring out where the movement is when we're going out and protesting, where I need to be. And in the meantime, I'm trying to do what I can on social media to spread the word. I'm donating. And for the people who are in similar positions as me, who might not be out on the streets protesting, but are in their homes and trying to do the best you can. Thank you, professional people, for, like Janae said, for stopping and reading, for watching the videos, for trying to educate yourselves, and just have empathy as a human being. People want to say whatever they want to about protesters, violent looters, whatever. Nah, that's professional. That's professional work. You have people like Erica Garner, who dedicated her life to fighting for her father and died because of a heart attack at the age of 27. No, that's work. So thank you.
Yeah, that's so important.
Thank you.
Did you guys see that video of them looting? Sorry, this is really funny. They looted Sephora. No. They were like, split your bitch.
There, I'm here for this.
Oh my god, it was so funny. I'm sorry. And also, the thing I love about Black people is that even when things are serious, the jokes and stuff is so funny. This week, it's been a rough week, but it's also been the funniest week on Twitter. The Madonna memes, all of that was so funny. I was crying.
That is why we are such a rich culture that people constantly try to take from. Not try, actually succeed at taking from. That is why hip hop culture, Black culture is such a commodity, because we are just a rich, beautiful, funny, creative, entrepreneurial people. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Yeah, even in the pain, we laughing.
Yes. What was the thing when Kanye was like, slavery was a choice? That was also the funniest memes I've ever seen.
And Kanye's ass is real quiet right now.
Real quiet. And
where is he?
Where is he? Where's all y'all with mixed kids?
Right.
Where you at?
Where's Kimye?
Where you at?
But
Kylie Jenner? Where you at?
Can I just shout out Atlanta for a second? Because the funniest video I saw last night was with these police officers with these see-through shields.
Yeah.
And someone's like, what you got, a contact lens? Like, and then the black police officer was laughing because that shit is funny. Like, what are you doing?
It is. They were rioting or protesting for about 4 hours or so in Atlanta, in downtown Atlanta.
Mm-hmm. I think it started at like 6 maybe? Or something
3,
like that.
4 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, this is not even what our episode is about, but we just had to, you know, but we just felt it was important to, you know, get some things off our chest, speak with each other and speak with you guys. But this week is actually, I mean, you know, the world is toxic and we're talking about toxic friendships. So it kind of works. No.
It does work.
Right?
I think it works.
Right. And I think a lot of people are finding out that the people that they considered friends are actually toxic in their thinking right now. So this might be the time to listen in and figure out how you can cut off certain people.
Take notes. Take notes.
Thanks. Okay. So according to healthscope.com, a toxic relationship is categorized by insecurity, self-centeredness, dominance, and control. So keep in mind, it takes 2 individuals to have a toxic relationship. Initially, we'll look at behaviors of the toxic person, but we must look equally as hard at the individual who is the recipient of the toxic behavior. And we have to ask, you know, why? Why does an adult stay in a situation that almost inevitably damages them or, you know, emotionally or physically? So that's just kind of stuff we're going to go in today. And I know Janae said she really liked, it was either Janae or Kia said they really liked a quote from Bustle about toxic friendships.
Oh, yeah, that was me. I was doing some research for this episode. And Bustle said, many friendships begin in high school or college and eventually fall apart because of changing attitudes, perspectives, values, morals, or goals in life. If a friendship is causing you to feel depressed, anxious, insecure, guilty, or uncomfortable, it may be time to say goodbye. Friendships are supposed to add to your life, not detract them. And I just thought that was important because a lot of our friendships do start in high school and college, and I think a lot of people hold on to that because they see how long that friendship is, like 14 years, X amount of time, but it's like if this person's not adding value, and then it's also okay because like your attitudes and your perspectives and your morals change in life, and that means people are going to change too. I just like that quote because of that.
Yeah. So do we want to get into it? I know we have some things about signs of a toxic friend. Should we start there?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's do that.
Yeah. So I know Janae did some research on like signs that you can look for.
Yeah. So according to Psych2Go, which are these like little cute YouTube videos that are like illustrated and stuff that I actually love to watch because I'm interested a lot in mental health and all that great stuff. But anyway, according to them, some signs of a toxic friend is you don't feel like you can be yourself around that person. They either ghost you or only make time for you when it's convenient for them, or to flip the coin, they're smothering and they get jealous when you pay too much attention to other people and not them. You feel like you guys are constantly competing against each other. Or instead of giving advice, they try to manage your decisions. And then a nice quote I like from the video is, even if they are coming from a good place, they can't live your life for you. Another tip or red flag, your friendship proves more stressful than supportive. You frequently catch them talking about you behind your back. And lastly, you can't even remember why you guys are friends or what you really like about them. So, you know, I just think that a lot of times, like, you know, Amari had said earlier, and like Kia had similarly pointed out, that a lot of times we're in these friendships for a really, really long time, and we don't necessarily see these bad signs. Like, we just kind of ride past them. So I think a lot of times it's important to sit back and look at your relationships with people and evaluate just how you feel about that person.
Yeah, and I think it's also like we kind of talk about how, you learn from your experience of like dating and like you see the red flags after you date someone and you see, to watch out for those red flags going forward. And I think it's people forget that in friendships too. Like you're going to keep making friends as you evolve in life, and there are red flags where you missed, and then you have to remember that in the back of your head, like to watch out for these red flags. And I think people a lot of times don't like, I think naturally they're just like, okay, like friends just happen naturally, all this stuff, but it's like you still got to be aware. And there was this other quote that I saw that it said, "We believe that love can end, but friends are forever." So sometimes this is the reason why we can't break a toxic relationship, because it's like you can choose your friends, and your friends are always going to be there whether you break up with someone or not. But it's like sometimes you got to cut them out too, just like you got to cut that toxic boy out of your life. It's similar.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because we usually think that being in a toxic relationship you can only be in a toxic relationship if you're with someone romantically. But you do have friends who are toxic, and you don't notice it right away until someone else close to you notices it and tells you about it. And you kind of take a step back and say, wait, you know what? You're right. This person is not a true friend. And I don't know why we're still in a relationship or in a friendship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think I just had a hard time making friends growing up. So for me, I really held on to a lot of people past that time, because I know how long it takes for me to form relationships with people. And that longevity did mean a lot to me. But I think the easiest sign, I think it takes time to like recognize toxic friendships, and then to make them move and break them off. But I think what's most telling is when you break them off and how you feel. For a lot of the people that I've, cut ties with, I haven't felt the need to really ever reach out to them again, or, they haven't really popped up in my mind normally. And I think that's telling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I like to say, like, in junior year of college, I kind of went through this transformation phase where I cut out a lot of people that I used to hang out with freshman year and sophomore year, and they were just doing things where I was just like, do I even need this? Like, going forward, like, are they bringing any value to my life? Like, it's always drama with them, all the stuff, and I'm not like a drama-filled person. Like, so it's just like, there's a reason why they're like being annoying. So like, I eventually cut them out. It was honestly like, and I almost got a little scared because it was so easy for me to cut them out. Like, and everyone knows that, like, that's like, yeah, my sister's always like comes to me like if I have to, because I'm like very quick with it, like, because I'm like, I'll give you the chances and like I'll really give you the benefit of the doubt, but once I make that decision, there honestly is no coming back. And like, maybe that's not a great trait, but I like it. It literally just helps me. Like, I do that with guys too. Like, once I just can't look at you the same. Like, I can't, I don't know. But like, all those people that I cut out, every single one of them came back. Like, every single one of them like apologized for something or came back, and like I gave one or two the benefit of the doubt, like maybe we can try again, and it just didn't work out. I feel like it rarely does, but it was also telling because I was like, I didn't miss them when they came back. Like, it was just like, oh yeah, I forgot we used to be friends. They came back, and then I was just like, my life is like doesn't feel worse without you. Like, it actually feels better. And I think another thing to remember is that when you let go of toxic people, you're only allowing yourself to either better the friendships you do have, or you're allowing like new, fresh relationships to come in. And I think, it's kind of like manifesting, right? So it's like, I had to bring it back to this because I just saying, like, you're telling the universe what you allow. So like, you tell the universe, I'm allowing these toxic friendships. You're going to bring toxic friendships in. When you're telling the universe, I'm cutting out people that do me no well, you're only going to attract things that bring you out. So, just had to put that in there,
Yeah, I agree. And Kia, I'm also the same way. Like, when I cut you off, I can cut off people easily. Like, when I cut you off, like, I'm done with you. I'm not going back. And there was one point I had to ask myself, like, is that okay? Is that healthy that I'm so quick to cut people out of my life? But it like it works for me. You know what I mean? Like, if it works for you and you don't have any remorse over it, then continue living your life.
I think people are going to be surprised too. Like, I think people are like, oh my God, I used to hang out with this person all the time. You'll be fine. You'll literally be fine.
You will be.
Just like breaking up with someone, you'll be fine. You were fine before them. You'll be fine after. Like, it's easier said than done, but it's like, you will be fine. Like, it'll be fine.
Me, on the other hand, I have a hard time just cut and dry, cutting people off. And I think I'll know like a really, really long time before, like, oh, this person got some problems. But then I kind of start to feel guilty. I think I very easily, I think because I can be somewhat of an empathetic person, I honestly think that I am what they call in HSP, a highly sensitive person. So I do find that a lot of people with a lot of insecurities and who need a lot of reassurance, I end up friends with them. And then down the line, I realize, oh, like they need help that I can't give them. And then I'll end up stuck in a situation where I feel bad for ending the relationship because it's obvious that they rely on me for emotional support. But at the same time, I'm realizing now that, you know, your friends shouldn't necessarily rely on you for emotional support all the time. It should be like we can go to each other and have a conversation, but like, I'm not crying if you don't pick up the phone.
Friends are not therapists too.
Yeah.
Like, it's not free therapy out here. Like, I know that sounds brutal, but it's like, that's not fair. I'm not a therapist. Some of y'all need help. Like, to be honest, like, I can only give you so much. And also, it's unfair to like bring that on a friend when it's like, you don't know what that friend's going through.
Yeah.
Like, you could be going through something. I think it's important for people to ask, like, hey, like, do you have the emotional bandwidth to take on this conversation right now? Like, people don't think about, like, I this is obviously like a learning thing. I didn't just like come out the womb saying that. I had to learn that over the years, but it's like, I have to be mindful of like, it is my business and I have to handle my business and I can go to my friends, but I have to also be mindful that they're in the right place to handle that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really important. And I think I can't remember who, but like there was one point where I had friends like asking before they would ask, like go into their stuff, like, are you in the mental space to take on like my issues? And I really appreciated them like giving me the space to like assess myself, whether I did have the emotional capacity to go and stuff with them. And that's kind of like, that's how I'll start like with other people too. Now it's like, are you in a space for me to like go into things that also too might be triggering for you too? So I do really, I agree with that. Like, you know, and that's a sign of a good, you know, being a good friend. But I don't know about you guys. But I know for me, in thinking about this episode, I've also had to come to terms with how I have been a toxic friend in the past, and also things that I've had to actively work on to better myself as a friend. And I was just wondering if any of you guys had those moments when thinking about this episode too.
100%. Yeah. I actually, you know, wrote on the little doc that we have before we go about the episode that I have a toxic friend story time.
It's Janae's story time.
Dramatic. But, you know, I had realized I went to community college in upstate New York, where I'm from, and then went to a 4-year university soon after. And I had realized that in Syracuse, where I'm from, I felt like I was a big fish. You know, I had gotten the internship at the biggest news station in the area. I felt like I knew people. I felt well connected. And then I come to this school that's New York City adjacent, and everyone's had the best internship, and everyone is physically smaller than me and is well connected and knows people and is hungry and driven. And that made me so insecure. So in college, you know, had this friend group. Rachel was a part of that friend group. And, you know, I had this one friend, and I will admit, looking back on it, I just see so clearly my wrongs in that situation. Like, I was a little bit of a jealous friend. She was attractive. She had her stuff together. She was constantly going after things the same way I was going after them. And I think I did not treat her as well as I could have because of that. And on top of that, I was very, very insecure about my body and how I felt about myself, and the fact that boys were giving her more attention than they were giving me. And I think I often would treat her crappily because of that. Now, she had her own things. She definitely had her own things with her own security about her body and who she was, which put a lot of strain on the relationship. Because like I had mentioned before, I have a tendency to become friends with people who are a bit insecure and emotionally needy. I was insecure and emotionally needy. Of course, we were attracted to each other, and she often came to me for help and support. I'd be looking at her like, you're perfect. Everyone loves you. You don't need anything. Me, on the other hand, people are treating me like a damn troll. So because of that, I was just angry. I was just really, really upset with her. And of course, I didn't express any of that. Of course, I never said these things. Of course, I never took her aside. So everything kind of came to a boiling point where she overheard me venting about her to another friend.
She did?
Yikes.
Yeah.
Oof. How did that happen?
Then you got to look around you.
So,
I'm so intrigued by this.
Wait, but you guys did like live like right next to each other.
in the walls in the dorm room were
they're not the
very, very thin. So
very thin.
Ooh.
to make a long story short, basically, I was a part of an organization, and she wanted to become a part of that organization. And to be 100%, I was like, she has penetrated every part of my life. I want to have this one thing for myself. Me and my roommate were already in this organization together. And I was just venting about how I honestly didn't want her to be in it. And how I just wanted to have this one thing, and she kind of had a tendency to come in and take things, and then everyone would be like, oh my God, she's so great. And I would just be sitting over here like.
So how did she address you when she found out that you were talking about her?
She addressed me so well.
That's not what I thought you were going to say.
So much more. So we went to the event, whatever, everything was fine, cool. And then like the next day I saw her, and she looked like really, really upset and disheveled. And she just came up to me. We were like walking past each other. She came up to me and she was like, hey, when you get a second, I'd like to talk to you. And I was like, okay, whatever. So later that day, I went in her room and talked to her. And once again, she looked really disheveled and upset. And I was like, what's going on? And she was like, I heard you yesterday talking about me. And she was like, I'm really, really hurt. And I didn't know you felt that way. And, you know, we just both kind of broke down, and I apologized. And I was like, I totally wish you didn't hear that. But now that you did, you highlight a lot of my insecurities about my body and the way I feel about myself. And, you know, she was basically like, I really look up to you, and it really sucks that you feel that way. And we had a good conversation about it, and we were able to kind of, I don't know, get back to square one. But from that point forward, things were never the same with our friendship. And to be frank, I was okay with that. Like, it is what it is. But yeah.
Ooh, wow. That's a lot. And now that you say that, I'm like, yeah, I've definitely been the toxic friend. But you go, Rachel.
No, I just want to say that because I know like who she's talking about. I'm proud of both of you for having that conversation, because it's hard. She could have heard you talking about her and then just like cut you off and not even like had addressed you, and you opening up to her and saying, you know what, this is how I feel, X, Y, and Z. So I'm proud of both of you.
Yeah. And also the fact that you like had, like Rachel was saying, you had that conversation and like you reflected on like your part too. And like you said, like you highlight a lot of my insecurities. And I think that's how a lot of people end up being a toxic friend. I feel like I've become better as a friend the more comfortable I've become with myself as a person. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, I feel like the more centered you feel in yourself, at least for me, I've noticed like that's the better I've become. Unfortunately, that means the people earlier on in my life did not get the best version of me as a friend.
Yeah.
And I think like a lot of that had to do with like communication. And I think for me, it came to a head. I think it was my senior year of college. My roommate was my best friend. We're on the school newspaper together. And I know she was going through a lot, and I felt like she wasn't necessarily, like she was my co-editor in chief. And I felt like I was just like overwhelmed by all the work. And instead of feeling comfortable enough to, like Janae's friend, address it and say something to her, I wrote an email to her because I just didn't know how to in person express myself. Because I'm not very good with, I don't think I speak well, or like what I mean to say doesn't come out right. So I just thought writing an email would be fine. And she was like, I've noticed like this difference in you. And she was like, and you're very passive aggressive. So like, and I was like, shit, like that is where my toxicity comes as a friend. I am aware I'm a passive aggressive person. I don't deal with any confrontation well. And instead of dealing with things, I just shut down and I remove myself from a situation, which is not fair to that person. So that's something I've kind of like had to have a reckoning with like in myself. I'm still slightly passive aggressive. Not even slightly. I'm still passive aggressive and I'm still actively trying to work on it.
It's hard.
Me too.
Come to terms with your own, because even now talking about this, I feel very nervous and clammy. I feel like I called myself out on the carpet. Like, it's a hard thing to realize your own toxicity, which we all have because we all have things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I think it's also fair to be like how you said, Amari, it sucks for the people that were in my life before because you didn't get the best version of me. But I think that's life, right? So I think it's like we could say that for guys, and guys could say that to us. Like, you didn't get the best version of me. And I think it sucks, but it's like, but someone will get the best version, and you would also get the best version of someone else. So it like works out. And I think it's okay to not to like beat yourself up on things that happened in the past, because as long as you're learning from it, so like we can all discuss like, yeah, I can admit when I was a toxic friend and I learned from it. It sucks when people can't do that. When people don't even know that they're a toxic friend and can't even see how they're being toxic and stuff like that. Like, from what you guys are saying, like, I definitely had like the jealousy thing, and I think it's also human nature to be jealous in some aspects, because it's like I'll sometimes get jealous when I feel like things are working out from people and I feel like I work so hard and it just never happens. And that especially comes from like my friends who aren't Black too. So when it's like I see them literally having no struggles in like their relation, like in dating, no struggles in their job, like just nothing, just life is just giddy. And I'm sure they have. What'd you say?
It's all hunky-dory.
Yeah, it's just like, and it's just like, wow, like you guys will never understand like the things that I have to go through in this job or like in dating and stuff like that. So it's just like, that's kind of where that comes. And I know it's not their fault. And now I'm doing this thing where I'm just like, okay, Kia, you're projecting, like it's not their fault. Like, so, but like in college, I definitely was like, I think I read one of the traits of a toxic friend is being judgmental. And I am judgmental. I'm working on it. But like before, I was super judgmental. Like it was really bad. And but also screw that girl, because we're not friends because of her too. So, but like I personally wanted to talk about some short stories about. I feel like the common thing. I don't know if this is true for everyone, but I feel like the common time where I find out who's toxic and who's a crappy friend is around my birthday. I don't know if that's
birthdays are so telling, and that's why I hate my birthday.
So that's okay. So I'm glad I'm not the only one. At first, I thought it was because my birthday is around Christmas, and it sucks because it's like winter, it's cold, it's literally the week of finals. No one wants to do anything, and people like I hear a lot of people on social media who say like, "Oh, people who like their birthday are weird." I just don't think that's fair, because I think you have one day of the entire year to yourself, and I think if people can't come support you on one day out of the year, what can they really support? You know what I'm saying? So like I just think it's fair, like, you know, if you ask someone to do something for your birthday, just come to a dinner and they can't make it. It's like, unless they have a really excuse, I don't know. I just feel like that's telling. So I feel like each year, like I just lose one friend, and I'm okay with that because it's fine. But like 1 year in college, this girl, it was Christmas time, like I said, and she was like, oh, I don't have money to get you a gift. Do you want like a meal from like the cafeteria? And I'm like, no, I'm not like poor. Like, I don't want like a meal. And she basically told me like she had spent $300 on her boyfriend of 6 months, and that's why she couldn't give me a gift. So it wasn't even that she didn't have money. It's just the fact that she clearly like had put this like 6-month relationship above me, and then like tried to like be like, oh, do you want this like meal from like my meal plan? And it's like, okay, I'd rather you not do that. And then another time, in college, this girl, like my birthday was on like a Wednesday, and she was like, oh, I have family dinner on Wednesdays. And I was like, you can't miss one family dinner for like your friend's birthday.
Like Rory Gilmore.
What'd you say?
So now she's like Rory Gilmore.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't watch Gilmore Girls. Oh, I'm just like, that was so like, and then she told like, because I was going to Times Square for my birthday, and she's like, yeah, my mom said ISIS was gonna blow up Times Square, so I can't go. These are all the stupid people in my life, guys. This is why junior year I had a major cleanse. Okay, and then the recent ones this year were this one friend who like considered me like her best friend, like completely forgot about my birthday, like completely forgot, did not hear from her at all on my birthday. And the next day she was like, oh, sorry, I was hooking up with some guy at my Christmas party. This past year, the latest friend that I cut off is because I was planning to go to Vegas for my birthday, and I told like these group of people like in June, so that's like 6 months before, and I just had a feeling, like I just had a bad feeling about this, and she like never pays anyone back, right? Like never. And usually we let it slide because it's like $5, $10, whatever. But this was like obviously a lot of money, and I put everything on my credit card. So I'd ask her, like, I kept asking her, like, hey, do you have the money? And she swore she was gonna come, and then she was like, oh, I like got a concussion, I don't have the money. Like, this is like a week before. And so I was like, hey, I'd appreciate if you like could pay me back since it's my birthday and I'm putting this on my credit card. Literally, guys, never heard from her again.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, like that was it. Like we have not spoken. She never paid me back. I have her on Venmo, never paid me back.
I'm petty. I keep sending that shit.
No, Amari, I've tried. Then I looked at her Venmo, guys, she hasn't paid anyone back since 2017.
Oh, damn.
You should have looked at her Venmo before.
I didn't look until after. How would I supposed to know?
That's crazy.
But I'm just like, how do you walk through life like this? Just like using people and like never paying people back, and like
some people are different. But I mean, birthdays I think can be very disappointing, but I also am aware that like sometimes I'm a day late on people's birthdays too. So like I give them a window. I give you like,
but not like your best friend.
No, well, I don't have that many best friends.
But the ones that you do have, I'm talking about best friends. Like these are people that
the ones that I do,
like
best friends. I trust that they always do right. Yeah, but
well,
that's.
I have a story. Speaking of friends and birthdays and dinners and not being able to make it.
Oh Lord.
She sounds mad. I'm like scared.
I knew she had a story.
No, because I have a friend. We grew up together.
Oh.
And yeah, you heard the story.
Wait, Janae, you know her? Do I know her too? Is this?
You heard the story. I'm not going to say any names,
okay.
But and so our birthdays are on the same time. Hers is like 2 weeks before mine, 2-3 weeks before mine, and we always celebrate our birthdays. I always go out with her and her family whenever it's her birthday, and I usually don't do anything big for my birthday. It's usually with like family and like a small group of friends. But this one year, I wanted to invite all my friends and family out to dinner and then like go out to the city for like drinks and dancing. And I went out with her with her family for her birthday that's the same year. And then I invited her to come out with me and my family. And so I sent out the invitation. It's the day of, and I'm texting her, like, because I'm texting her the address. I don't want her to get lost. I want to make sure she's, you know, she knows where we are. And nothing. And then like an hour later, she texted me like, oh, I left my wallet in my sister's car. I'm not going to be able to make it. I'm just like, oh, okay. So I don't respond at all. And I haven't reached out to her in like weeks. And then one day she hits me up like, oh, do we have beef? And I'm just like, girl, I don't have time to have beef with anybody. So fast forward to like November of last year, I hit her up and I told her that I'm moving to Atlanta. I would love to see you and hang out. We set a date. And with her, whenever we set a date to meet up, if I don't reach out to her that day or like the day before saying, hey, are we still on? We're not going out that day. So this time around, I don't hit her up to see if she's really serious about hanging out that day. If she's going to remember, or is she going to like send a text reminder? Nothing at all. And that was the final straw. I just let her know, like, we've been planning this dinner for about a year now just to meet up. And I was like, it's not going to work. Best of luck to you. Good luck with everything. And that's it.
Wow, did she respond?
She, now we can like put emojis on like text messages, and
without having to respond.
She put a question mark and I didn't. That's like the end of it. And that's kind of big for me because old me would just have not had said anything and probably blocked her too. So I can be passive aggressive too. So me just like explaining how I felt and what she did was wrong. Pat myself on the back for that too.
No, that's amazing because that's a lot.
I couldn't not say anything because again, we were we were friends since we were like 5 or something. Like we grew up in the same church and everything. So and I didn't feel bad about it too. I did a little bit, but then afterwards I was like, how I handled it made me feel a little bit better if I had just like blocked her and not said anything.
Yeah, I think that's amazing because I think sometimes you just gotta like give it direct, like, you're kind of like out of my life, like that's it, like whatsoever. And I did have like someone I think one of so I'll just say like the red flags that I found in the last year and like tell a little story about one of them. But the red flag is like they don't want you hanging out with anyone else. That happened like freshman year of college, and I hung out with a group of people, and they would always leave. Sorry, I need to cough a little bit. Sorry. They would always leave like the weekend, so I would just be at the campus by myself. Like all my friends would leave, and no one was on campus. So then I started finding people who would stay on campus because I didn't want to like waste my whole college like doing nothing. So I started to find new friends and I hung out with these girls, and they're actually like 2 of my best friends to this day. And the other 2 girls who I used to hang out with, they would like make comments like, oh, like, why do you have to hang out with them? Or like, why do they have to come? And you could just tell the jealousy of like, they just really didn't want me hanging out with them. And it was just like, they kind of wanted to like control me, like be like, only you can hang out with us. And like, on the weekends, don't hang out with anyone. Like, we're not here. Like, they would get mad. So I was like, ooh, that is not a good sign. Another thing is, like, they don't have any other friendships. So, like, someone who just, they don't have any other friendships. They've never had a successful friendship or, like, a long-term relationship. And I think a lot of times we're, like, or they start like a lot of drama, like they're always in drama. I think a lot of times we're like, oh, that's just how they are. Like that doesn't affect me. Guys, eventually it's going to affect you. Like that has happened to me so many times where this one girl in high school, like we were best friends for like 13 years, like went to the same high school, college. And she would always be in some drama, like all the time. And I was just like, she never starts drama with me. I don't really care what she does, like outside of this friendship. And it got to the point where like we went to our senior trip, and this girl we were in Dominican Republic on vacation, and this girl, instead of enjoying vacation, was just arguing with some girl back at home. And I'm like, bro, we're on vacation. Like, who cares what's going on at home? And then slowly after that, I started to realize, like, okay, she's just constant drama. Like, I need to cut her off. Another thing is, like, people who are incredibly flaky and unreliable, like you said, Rachel, because I feel like that's a sign that, like, she didn't ever really value your friendship. If, like, you can't make time for your friends, like, what can you do? Like, people make time for things they care about. Like, I'm sure if it was, like, her favorite singer was performing in New York City, she would make time to go there. Like, why couldn't she make time to go to dinner with you? And then the last thing is, like, kind of like you said too, Rachel, like, they can't apologize correctly. Like, so instead of, like, reading your text message and being like, you know what, Rachel, you're right, I was really shitty, let me, like, try to be a better friend, she decided to just put a question mark.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like, and I had a friend do that, and, like, I was, like, planning her birthday, and I put, like, a lot of times in people's birthdays, like I said, because, like, I value birthdays, so I just want, if you're, like, close to me, I want you to feel, like, special on that. You have one day out of the year. Like, that's the least I can do, in my opinion. So I have 2 friends who have, like, birthdays around the same, like, days, so I always try to, like, do my best to not double book anyone and, like, make sure I'm there for both of them. So, like, I start planning their birthdays, like, a month in advance, like, just to make sure, like, I don't mess up. So, like, it's a month in advance, and, like, one friend is like, okay, I'm going to do this. And so she plans everything. And the other friend, she's, like, kind of, like, feeling depressed, like, doesn't really want to do anything, which is fine. So, like, I start planning her birthday for her, and she's like, oh, what do you want to do? I'm like, we could just watch your favorite, like, comedian. We could just do it low-key, like, whatever. Like, we'll do it, like, the Saturday before your birthday. So we pick a day, and it's, like, the day before. And I haven't heard from her. I haven't heard about a time or anything. And I'm like, hey, dude, like, what time do you want me to come over? Like, I'm ready to, like, do whatever you want for your birthday. And I literally didn't book anything the whole day, guys. So then she texts me, and she's like, oh, well, this guy from Bumble asked me on a date, so I think I'm just going to do that. And I'm like, okay, so you're just like, we're just not going to do anything? And she's like, oh, well, like, you can come over after the date. So I'm like, wait, am I crazy? Like, we have plans, and, like, now you're just going on a date with you'd rather spend your birthday with a random dude on Bumble than your best friend who's trying to, like, plan your birthday. Like, and I'm just supposed to come on after the date. Like, I'm like damaged goods kind of. So that, like, hurt me, obviously. And so I told her, I was like, hey, that's really, like, messed up. Like, I've literally been trying to plan your birthday for, like, a month, and you're just, like, kind of ditching me. And she, like, she didn't get it. Like, she was just like, oh, I don't understand why you're mad. I never, like, do anything for my birthday anyway. And I'm like, I'm mad because you're wasting my time. Like, I could be doing literally anything else. And I'm, like, out of the kindness of my heart, trying to do something for you. And you're kind of, like, throwing it in my face. And so after that, I really didn't talk to her for, like, months. Like, she tried to, like, kind of, like, act like nothing, like, we were all good. But, like, I didn't talk to her, obviously, because I'm just like, yeah, that's, like, stupid. Like, why would I spend my time with someone like that? And then, like, it's, like, this was, like, this year. So this was, like, I think 8 months after. And she texted me, and she was like, oh, like, I don't know, like, why we're not friends anymore. I'd like to see you. And then I just, laid it out. I was like, we're not friends because you did X, Y, and Z. That really hurt me. And for, like, a whole day, like, of this text message conversation, she, like, could not understand why I was mad. She, like, didn't understand. She thought I was being unreasonable. And she's like, you're my best friend. I consider you my best friend. Like, I want you in my life, all this stuff. And, like, I'm like, for someone that, like, you're saying you're my best friend, wouldn't you try harder to, like, repair this relationship? Like, why would you keep acting like I'm crazy? Like, she was like, oh, we're both going through stuff. And I'm just like, that's not how you apologize. You, like, take accountability. Like, you're the one asking for my forgiveness. Like, so I don't know. That just really bothered me because I feel like a lot of people, like, can't apologize correctly. And then you're like, well, I can't, like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
I feel like I had a question, but I forgot it. I forgot it.
a big thing that I have noticed, a red flag for me, is when people do not respect your time or your boundaries. Just an example for me is if I tell you, hey, we've hung out several times this week, and I need one day to myself to do me. And then if they, still hit you up and ask you to hang out, that's like you're completely ignoring like all of my things. I had a very long on and off friendship / relationship, and this would be an often thing that would happen where it was like we hang out 7 days a week. We hang out 6 days a week, and on the 7th day, I'm like, hey, need time for myself.
Need a rest.
Hey, what are you doing today? And I'm like, I literally told you, and then get angry with you when you try to set any type of boundary. It's like that is a huge, 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 huge red flag. So that was just like a big one.
Oh, I wish you guys watched I know Amari watches Insecure, but I know a lot of people on Twitter are talking about like how Molly is the toxic friend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For me too, a red flag has been the type of topics we talk about. I feel like a lot of I realized, I think more so in college, that my friends could only go so deep sometimes. And any time we got into the realm of, I think my problem too is I'm serious. Like, I'm a very serious person. I can be funny, but more often than not, I'm more serious. But it was just weird realizing that like my friends couldn't talk about, race with me. They couldn't talk about, I remember specifically one time getting in a conversation with a good friend who I had known since I was like 8, and we're talking about death. And she said, I don't want to, like, and this was like the first time we're having like an in-depth, true conversation. And she had cut it off and she said, I don't want to go into this anymore. And I was just like, we were just getting to it. This was like our first conversation that did not revolve around a boy for, I think, our entire friendship.
For me, I have levels. Mm-hmm. There are levels. With birthday stuff, birthdays honestly aren't that big of a deal to me. I be forgetting everybody's birthday. I love y'all, but I be forgetting people's birthday.
Facebook saves me sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it saves me too.
I'm guilty.
If I know that birthdays are a big deal to you, I will try to make more of an effort. Like for Kia's birthday, I was like, low key cashed in there. Birthdays are a big deal for Kia. So I was like, Kia, what you want to do? I'll take you to dinner. Like, let me know when you're free so I can take you to dinner. But for me, it's more so of there are friends that are on a top tier level for me where it's like, I don't expect you to throw me a birthday party or buy me presents or gifts. I just expect you to show up if an invitation is there. I expect you to communicate with me. I expect you to just be there. And that's not even specific for birthday parties, just in general with life things, just be there. And then there are other people in my life who are like, we cool to hang out with, but you flake sometimes. I don't feel like I can talk to you about death, pooping, or I don't know.
I love how pooping comes right after death.
That's like, a big one for Janae.
Bowel movements are important.
I can't talk to you about death, pooping, or sex, then I don't know why we're here. I don't know what we're doing.
But you bring up an important point. Like, you have, like, I don't want this to sound bad, but like, you have friends for specific things. Like, you have tiered friends. Like, not all your friends are meant to be your best friends. And I don't trust bitches who only have best friends. Like, I don't trust it. And I also
have 18 best friends. Like, how?
It's like girls in the bridal party. You got 14 bridesmaids. Get out of here.
No. And if that many people know that much of your business, I don't know. For me, there's like a select group of people who I will trust with myself. And the rest, you can get parts of me, and I think that's all you need.
Do you guys have like grading systems? Like, I have grading systems. I'm like, like if they do something, I'll be like, okay, you're on the B level now, so I'll give you like B effort.
Kia, like,
like I'll give you like B effort amount of like friendship. So it's like, if you're giving me C level, okay, like that's what you get in return. I'm like, I'm only gonna give you what you give me. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that's common.
No, but this is on brand.
I picture Kia have like a grading chart in her room and like moving cards around whenever
Natalie is now.
I don't have that. I just keep it in the back of my head. I'm just like, okay, noted. Next time, I'm gonna note that. But my one friend did have something, because I was like telling her about one of our mutual friends, and she was like, like sometimes you gotta put, when you're older, you gotta put people on the shelf. Yeah. Like, she was like, sometimes you just got to remove them from the shelf, and like maybe they'll come back and be put on the shelf. And that is true, because some people, I will give them like a C level and they'll come back and they'll be on the A level. Like, you just got to put them on the shelf, take them off the shelf. I was like, I like that too.
Yeah, we're all humans. We need time to we need a little space sometimes.
Like, I'll give you space and be like, okay. But then if it's consistent, you're consistently like sucky. That's when I'm like, nah.
For me, it's consistency. If you're not consistent with like your actions, if I'm always reaching out and making time for you, I expect the same. Just consistency and being honest. That's it for me.
And I also think that honesty, humongous thing. And I totally lost my train of thought. So,
well, while you're thinking, I'll just add one small tidbit. I think it's also important to be aware that like different people will take up different roles in your life throughout it. Like sometimes people will be a huge factor, and sometimes they'll go to a smaller friendship lane. But there still doesn't mean that takes away from like the big friendship that you had. And I think that's also like, I think it's like becoming comfortable with the people that you were close with may not hold the same space in your life, but they're still there. But yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Janae, do you know what you're going to say?
Yes, I remember.
Okay.
And I think for me, it's been a learning curve on just being a better friend in general. I think I'm a pretty sturdy friend. But I think that for me, and I guess I do have different tiers, like Kia said. I don't think they're as mapped out, maybe, but I do think that I have friends that are like, do you find that when you really have a close connection with someone or you feel a close bond, it is really, really hard for you to judge them. It's really hard for you to be like angry with them, even if they do something kind of shitty or flaky. You're just like, oh, whatever. And I think
I'm judgy.
And I'm judgy too. But there are certain people in my life where I'm just not. Like, I love them so much that it's just kind of like, ugh, that was annoying, but whatever.
Yeah. I did that with like the friend who I was telling you about I was planning her birthday. And after I like told my other friends that I cut her off, they were like, oh, like, she had so many red flags. Like, they just flat out told me, like, she had so many bad qualities. Like, we were shocked that you were even, like, friends with her. Because, like, she would always flake. She would just constantly do stuff, like, not really show up. And, like, every time we went out to, like, a bar or something, she would just, like, go off by herself, like, ditch the rest of the group. Mostly ditch us for a guy. And then when my friend said that, I was like, oh, I completely, like, disregarded that. I noted it, but I just like let it go because like she was my best friend from college. And then when they said that, I was like,
and she did that.
Huh?
We went to a party together.
Probably. It's the same girl. She'd been doing that stuff all the time. But after the birthday thing, I like really cut it off, and I was really struggling like giving her a second chance. Like, I talked to one of my other best friends, and I was like, dude, I'm really struggling. Like, I rarely give people second chance, but I will be nice because this is someone I consider I'm really close to. And I tried. I said, if she can apologize to me, I will I will give her a second chance. Mm-hmm. And she simply could not. She would not apologize. She just would not do it. And I was just like, you're like literally texting me. I didn't contact you. You contacted me. You're texting me about how I'm your best friend. You miss me so much, all this stuff. And I simply am asking you to apologize, and you just won't. You refuse to do it. And I just feel like that's telling. So like, I was like, okay, well, I tried.
Yeah. I mean, but I think like Janae, with like what you were saying is that like, I think what I took from what you were saying is at least like certain things may annoy you about the people you love, but like you're willing to give them concessions. And it's not necessarily ignoring red flags. It's just like you're willing to kind of take stock of what's important to you and what's not important to you.
Exactly.
Like I know we all know I'm a very timely person. But I think that's something that like, you know, I'm just going to keep being, you know, like, I'll still show up to your door 30 minutes. And I know people probably are annoyed about that too. And I have been trying to be later. But I think like for me, it was like, and I think when it wasn't a big deal or anything, but like when I left New York, like you and Rachel and like you guys had like put together this thing, and it meant so much to me because on my last night in New York, y'all showed up like 20 minutes early. And I was like, these bitches love me. I was like, for my last night there, but I think like earlier what you were saying, it's kind of just like, yeah, like it's annoying, but it's not like worthy of a flag.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that makes more sense.
Mm-hmm. I have been trying to give a lot of my friends that same grace. It's like the same grace that you would give, say, your mother. You know what I mean? When she does something annoying, I try to give the friends that I have high regard of that same grace. You did something annoying, but it doesn't necessarily affect me. It doesn't hurt me. It's not something that's damaging here because I'm very judgmental. I am hella judgmental with people. For me, you do some shit that annoys me, I'm like, memory bank, I don't want to talk to you right now. But I've been trying to give all of my friends that same grace of like, just because you did something that I don't like, I don't agree with, that doesn't mean that you're wrong. It doesn't mean that I'm right. It doesn't mean that I need to, you know, give you a shitload of advice. Sometimes you just gotta let people live their life and be there for them.
I think it's like a level of same with like relationships. So it's like, of course, we're not going to find the perfect guy, and he might do some shit like, you know, poo in the bathroom, not spray, and you're like, damn, that really sucks. That's annoying. But it's like, what's the deal breaker, right? So it's like, is your deal breaker like someone who flakes all the time? Then like that's when you got to cut it off. Like I think it's kind of like that. Like what's your deal breaker in friends? If you don't want to have a friend that you feel like every time you text them they respond like 8 days later, and you're like, damn, that's annoying. Like I needed you 8 days ago, not today. Like it's like, what's your deal breaker? So I get like getting grace because like I know my friends get annoyed that I'm late. I'm gonna be late. I'm sorry. It's just like I know my friends hate that I'm late, and I literally just straight up tell them I just can't help it. I suck. It's a terrible quality, but like
you're not that late.
Oh, my white friends go crazy. Like they, because white people are on time for everything.
White people early, like an hour early.
Like I invited them to my house, and I forgot that like they were white, and. And they came on time, and I'm like, bro, y'all are supposed to come like later. The fuck. So, but I'm just like,
but not all
whatever.
Black people are late.
Not all, clearly.
Some of us like to be early.
Tia L'Oreal Swinton is late. I'm gonna tell you right now. Not to important things. I'm never late to school, the airport, and my job.
Yeah.
So.
But if it's like we just chilling,
that's what I'm saying.
It's not that serious.
But if we have reservations,
you're at y'all. Why am I always the first one at the reservation point?
It's always Amari.
That's not me. It's not me.
I'm like, hold the table. They're coming.
I will let y'all lose that table. I'm not even gonna lie.
But also, it's New York, so I would always plan like 2 hours in advance,
right?
Just in case.
Commute.
And then it's always quicker than it's supposed to be. But we did do some Twitter polls and some Instagram polls just to kind of gauge where our followers were at too. Kia, do you want to go into how people responded on Twitter?
Yeah, I'll do the Twitter one. Let me pull it up right now. So I'll do the poll first. So the poll I did on Twitter was, do you feel like you're more tough on your friends or on your romantic partner? And 66.7 said they're more tough on their romantic partner, and 33.3 said friend. And someone responded, definitely my romantic partner because they're the one I'm trying to spend my life with. But at the same time, I find I have more patience for my romantic partner than I do my friend. Maybe it's a balance, ? So I guess more people feel like they're more tough on their romantic partner. And then we did another question, what are some red flags you notice in your friendships? And I'll just read some of the responses. Someone said the friend who gets jealous because you have other friends. Someone said friends not getting excited and hyping you up when you give them good news, such as a promotion, a new job, business idea, a new relationship. The friend that can't compliment you without reminding you they did it first. Ooh, that's terrible. The friend who has to name your flaws in front of others, them calling you out in a group setting isn't cute.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one said, when you feel like they are competing with you and when they don't get excited for your accomplishments, but you do for theirs. So that's just some of how you guys felt on the Twitter feedback.
We had similar, slightly, well, I don't know, varying responses on Instagram. So when it comes to, do you feel like you're tougher on your friends or romantic partners? 79% said they're tougher on their friends than they are on their, and then
wait, what?
Oh, wow.
That's the exact opposite of
yeah, so 79 said they're more tough on their friends than they are their romantic partners. And I voted in this poll and I said yes, but that's because I don't got no romantic partners to be tough on. So I don't know if that's how our readers are also feeling too.
They're like, no one else, so you get all the...
Right, you get all the...
I responded on that too, and I said friends because, like, my friends are my homies. When this romantic crap ends, like, y'all here, so I'm expecting y'all to go ham for me.
I feel like I would be definitely more tough on the romantic partner, for sure, because I'm like, you need to come correct, right? Like, I don't know, because I feel like I can already trust my friends, right? So you guys can do some, like, dumb stuff, and I'll be like, whatever. Like, they still got my back. I don't know if you do. I don't know if the romantic partner does, like, unless we're married. But, like, I need to make sure you're coming correct for, like, down the line. So, I don't know.
I'm tough on my boyfriend than my friends, so...
I think maybe if I was in a position where I was in a relationship, I would be tougher on the romantic partner. But because I'm always in the part of like, we're talking and I want to make this a relationship, I'm like, bitch, don't be too tough.
Or be tough.
Or when I am tough, I'm like, okay, this shit's over. I'm prepared. And then I'm always intrigued by the responses because they end up being receptive to my critique. But
a romantic partner?
Yeah, but it still doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, but that's why I feel like that's why you should be tough, because it's like you gotta, and also it's like the romantic partner is important. So if you're trying to like spend the rest of your life with someone, you should be tough on them. That's an important role in your life. Like you got to spend the rest of you got to live with this person. You got to potentially if you want kids, like make sure they're a good daddy. Like you should be tough on them. I think that's fair. I think it's fair to be tough on them.
That's true. That is true. I can't even look that far. I'm like, let's make it to 3 months or something. And then when we asked, like, what are red flags? Someone said bad communication. If a friend reminds you of everything that they've done for you when in a disagreement, a one-way friendship, like you're always the one going out of your way, someone who doesn't celebrate your wins, doesn't support your new projects. One person said, me always reaching out, people only looking to hang out at parties, and differing values. So yeah, I think that was interesting. I think like I can definitely relate for the differing values too. And I think one friend that ended up cutting off was I started to know I didn't agree with, and I don't know if it was necessarily her, but things that she would tell me about her family, or, I grew up around her family. I'd go visit them and, they would be dropping the N-word around me. Or like they had Obama toilet tissue paper. She was, on Bumble dating guys, and her mom didn't like the fact that she was talking to someone who was Muslim. And I was like, oh, these are things that I am not okay with. And I've been making concessions. And I've been trying to look past it because it's like, I didn't want to see what that might mean about like what you think about me, or like think about where I come from, and different value. And I think that's just like one of the more, extreme examples. But I think there are other examples where I'm just like, I don't like what you say about, people who identify as this or that. And I don't agree with it. And I don't know if our values as people align. Mm-hmm. So. I mean,
wait, what did she say after that? Like, when you addressed her, like,
I literally, when I think it came to a head when she said that her mom didn't like the fact that she was talking to someone who was Muslim, and I was trying in the nicest way to say that your mom's kind of racist. And I ended up just saying, that's racist. Like, that's just racism. That's just like prejudice. And I think she recognized it, but it's her mom. And I felt bad because like I know her mom, and just weird stuff like that. And then it ended up just like us falling out because she went to visit like a group of friends went to go visit a friend who lived in the Caribbean. And I was like, oh, hey guys, like I thought I was a part of this friend group. Why wouldn't I be included in this trip? And no one told me about it. I found out on social media.
that's awful.
So then I ended up I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I just started unfollowing everyone, which is petty. And then the only reason she reached out was because she realized I had unfollowed her on Twitter.
I hate when people do that. Like, hey, did you unfollow me?
Right.
Like,
I'm like, we don't text, we don't call, so why does it even matter?
Why does it matter? You're texting me about that's so child. I feel like that's like very like college years. I feel like
that was a college. Well, that was after college, but someone I had knew since elementary school.
Oh no!
But it's a friendship that I like sometimes think about, but at the most part, I'm like, there were a lot of problematic things that I let slide. And I'm sure like she probably thinks I was, and there was times where I wasn't a good friend too. Again, we all know I'm passive aggressive, and I can be really harsh, but I think that was like one of the friendships that I don't really miss.
It's a thing. I feel like as an Oreo, allowing people in your life where you guys just have different values, especially when it comes to race. And then you just kind of realize slowly over time that like, oh, I actually don't, I can't be friends with someone who their parents say racist things, or they have very like passive racist beliefs. I think we can probably all attest to having friends like that. I had a lot. So yeah.
And it's like, I know that's your family and that's not you, but the fact that you keep on making excuses for this way, and also you within yourself do things that exhibit similar values. It's kind of like, damn. And also,
I think that goes with like the conversation we had before, like we got into the topic discussion of like, people are always asking, what can they do? How can they be an ally? And I think it's simply stuff like checking her mom, like could have been one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But we can talk all day about friends, guys. It's important. Yeah. But I think Rachel's obviously her mental health segment will tie back into this. So let's go over to time to talk mental health with Rachel.
Bustle posted an article on tips for letting go of a toxic relationship. But being in a toxic relationship can make you feel drained, exhausted, stiff, and unsatisfied, which can affect your mental health. So here are some tips on letting go of a toxic friendship. 1, the first step is realizing it's okay to remove yourself from that relationship. 2, focus on your healthy relationships. Focus on the friends and family who really care and value your friendship. Don't wait for an apology. This is my favorite tip. I wish someone would have told me this a long time ago, because waiting for apology actually interferes with you trying to heal from that relationship. So you're constantly waiting for that person to apologize, and at the end of the day, you're blocking yourself from healing and getting over that relationship. Focus on yourself, self-care, find a new hobby, learn a new language, do things that makes you puts you in a place where you're focusing on you and your well-being. 5, get help from other friends. Sometimes you don't see that you're in a toxic relationship, and that other person may realize it, and that can help you a lot. 6, allow yourself to be sad. Like, feel what you're going through. Don't try to like brush it off, because it'll come back in other ways that you're not ready for, other ways that you don't see coming. 7, have less contact with them. Do whatever you have to do. Unfollow them on social media, block their number, have less contact with them. But just remember that you are worthy of love, and how that toxic friend treated you has nothing to do with you. Stay close to friends and family that love you and value your friendship. And also learn from that toxic friend so you don't exercise that same behavior to another friend. And I'm going to end with this quote that I found on Instagram. The author is anonymous. Healing requires us to be honest with ourselves, to see that we are the ones holding on to what is harming us. And it is our choice to let it go and be free. Thanks, y'all.
Good. And Janae with the shirt.
Yeah. So today, got a letter tying back into what we were talking about in the beginning of the podcast. Latricia writes, how do you guys stay up to date with what's going on in the world without getting stressed out? I can't help but be disappointed in myself because I have become one of those millennials who just reads the titles of stories, then feels as if their job is done. When I do sit down and force myself to scroll through Apple News or check out what news items are trending on Twitter, I get so overwhelmed and bummed that I quickly realize that I just rather crawl back into my newsless shell. Between COVID-19, the trash-ass election that's literally right around the corner, and the death of unarmed Black bodies, RIP, Ashman Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd, it's all too dang much. But I feel the need to stay informed. What helps you guys out?
I think sorry, I think you meant Ahmed. It's Ahmed, right?
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, I think this is an important question because, I struggle with this a lot too, just being one of those millennials who sees the title of an article and is like, all right, well, that's it. But I think it's important to give yourself a certain amount of time to ingest the news and then don't check back in. I think it's from, an hour a day or something like that to say, okay, I'm going to look on Twitter. I'm going to, go on CNN and see what's going on. And then you're done for the day. And it's really hard right now because everything is trending on Instagram and Twitter. So it's really hard to block that stuff out.
Yeah, it's super hard because it's like I'll go on Twitter mostly for the laughs, and then it'll just be like consumed with the news, which is fair because like it's what's going on. Yeah. So I think it's like I always allow myself like to check the news once in the morning, at night, and then I go on Twitter just for breaks. But like yesterday I did have to like tone it down a little bit because I felt like every time I was going on Twitter it was just like another news story that would piss me off. Like it was like the president's being a dickhead. People are looting, which is fine. It just sucks to see the commentary on it. Like when people, like the actor said that dumb stuff, then Wiz Khalifa said that dumb stuff, and it's just like, can y'all just like, if you don't have anything smart to say, can you just shut up? Like, I don't know. So it's hard because, but then it's also like it'll make me feel better. Like when Madonna did that dumb video of her son, and the memes were so funny. It actually like made my day. But I think it's just knowing how you are. So like for me, I also don't have Facebook on my phone or Instagram on my phone. So I only check it when I'm on my computer, like my iPad. So like figuring out a kind of, I guess, balance for like how much you can take. And I think
I think also figuring out which apps work best for you and which news sites work best for you. And if you're a person where if you're scrolling through social media and if you're looking through news items on Twitter and then you get sucked into this black hole of negative comments that, bring you down, maybe that's looking at a more, aggregated news site. Or if you're one of those who has a hard time sticking to details and reading a lot is like, this is annoying as hell, maybe checking out something like this Skim where it gives you just the important meat of what's happening in the world. Maybe that's more for you. So I think you'll have to do a little bit of soul searching on which news sites make you feel better too.
Yeah. definitely, I think what makes me sane is sometimes I fall into it, but sometimes sometimes I fall into the comments, but I make an effort not to look at comments because it just like makes me look at people cross-eyed. But I think I'm also like a masochist in that I force myself to read because I think, yes, I am Black. Yes, I am woman. Yes, I, go through a lot of things, but I also have the privilege of coming, where I live and what, being from a class place, like a lot of things don't hit me the way it hits other people in different communities. And so I want to force myself to be aware of it because it is a privilege to be able to just scroll through my feed and to read articles that I'm still removed from in this weird way. But it is important to give yourself space. So what I do is I physically put my phone in a place where I forget about it and I don't come near it. And I think that's like what you have to do. Also, like I've been like waking up at 3:00 in the morning lately and scrolling through Twitter and then like staying up until 10 a.m. I don't recommend keeping your phone or like your computer or your electronics with you in your room. I think that's really what's been like messing up my sleep cycle. What about you, Rachel?
Yeah, I do the same thing, Amari. I leave my phone in another room and I just go somewhere else and don't even look at my phone. And sometimes when I'm like going out for my walk, I would just leave my phone at home. And because I know I'm just like, I would open Instagram and start scrolling and seeing all these news stories and all of what's going on today. And that can be draining. There was a point, like Latricia said, like she would not watch news at all because it was too much. And I was also the same. I wouldn't even, because I get most of my news from like Facebook, so I wouldn't even like open Facebook because of what's going on. So I think that it is important to give yourself a break, and like Janae said, find a news outlet where you can consume your news where it's not overwhelming and you're getting all the facts.
And I also want to add that getting overwhelmed is not a bad thing. You're a human being, and right now the world and also this country is just not in a great place. So if you get overwhelmed, that is okay.
Like we've talked about, like Rachel talked about, in her last episode that was dedicated to mental health and the stigma. It's like you really have to focus on protecting your mental space, especially as a person of color, as a Black person, as a Black woman, as a Black man. Like no one's really protecting us in these spaces. So, if you need to zone out for a few hours and not think about it, like that's the least you can do for yourself.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Does anyone else have anything else to add before we wrap up today?
Nah, great episode, homies.
Yeah, it was fun.
We had some points. We talked. We did.
We talked.
We did it.
So thanks, guys, for tuning into this week's episode. As you already know, if you don't, follow us on all social media at So-Called Oreos, and you can email us at socalledoreos@gmail.com. Also, please fill out our new survey. It's on all of our social. Help us so we can help you. You can listen to us on SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play. And please remember to like, rate, subscribe, and leave a review. And also, like, I just want to open up our DMs, in general. Like, if you feel overwhelmed, just need a space to vent. We may not answer immediately because we're all, going through it. But just know that we're here to listen, and we want to hear from you.
Yeah, I did open up the DMs to people who didn't follow us on Twitter, but then I only got really bad spam. So you actually have to follow us on Twitter to DM us now.
Okay.
Good thing if you follow us because you'll be up to date on all of your So-Called Oreos content. So really, it's a win-win.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, guys. So until next time, bye.
Bye.